Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video we're going to answer a reader question that is, how do you have hitting drills in a small time window? Now this video is going to not just be for instructors, although I'm more of an instructor than a team coach, but the principles of this, and you can use your own critical thinking skills to mold this into a team type of environment. But it is mostly for instructors out there, academy owners that have instructors, and how to effectively use your time. And I just want to preface this that this isn't a perfect model, and I'm sure some out there have been doing this for longer and have a better system. And at the end of this video, I want to encourage those coaches, those instructors, to share what is working and what is not working, what to stay away from, or what they found didn't work. So what we're going to talk about are three things: the theory of constraints, and that question of what is most important. And the second thing we're going to talk about is the structure of what I call small private group hitting sessions. And we're going to talk about some pros and cons. There's a lot of information. I'm going to try and get through it as quick as I can so that this video doesn't drag on like I tend to do. So the first thing, theory of constraints. That question of what's most important. The need to be effective in a small time period or space. Now I understand a lot of you are either instructors or coaches out there, or both. You're in different parts of the country. You're dealing with different weather throughout the year. So you're going to be watching this video. Some of you, it's going to be snowing outside. Some of you, you're going to have an abundance of sunshine like we are here in California. Some of you are going to have access to a field and a cage. Some of you are going to have only access to a basement. And so these things, when you put constraints, the theory of constraints is you have to, it's almost like change is a must. Okay, how do I make this work in this small space, in this small area, with this small amount of hitters, with like stations like the reader question was. So for me, my story was, it was a must change. It was a must have change to the small private group sessions. I was doing one-on-ones, and I'm blessed to, the business has been very good, although my local lessons are about 20% of my business. The other 80% is my online. But what I was finding with the individual lessons is that on Saturdays I was working from 7:45 in the morning until 4 at night. And then on Sunday I was working from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. where I would have to meet my family, which my wife, I have a 2-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, meet my family over my in-laws for Sunday night dinner. And it was put into strain because wifey wants me home to help out, which my big thing is family. I want to be there for my family, but I was finding myself not there. And I love working with my hitters, but I love being with my family more. So it was causing this friction, this pulling. So it was a must change for me to small private group session. Now I know there's some of you out there. I know I have friends that put in 16-hour days at their cages around this country. Crazy to me, and others that are starting to shift to that group side because they do have a priority. Their family is a priority, but they're finding themselves at the cage more than even how much sleep they're getting a night. And that is a nightmare for me. I know not so much for others, and I'm not judging, but for me, family is a big thing. So I had to change. So the supply and demand, right? But the demand for my time was increasing, and my time was decreasing. So you could do a number of different things, and there are things that I had entertained, different things, just thoughts, and okay, what if I did this? What if I did that? The number one thing a lot of times instructors will do, they will increase their price. They will double their price. So say if an instructor's charging $45 for 45 minutes, well now it's $90. And that was something, the one thing, my priority is family. The other thing is I don't want to start to limit the hitters that come into my system. I don't want to price it beyond what 80% of my hitters are going to be able, the parents are going to be able to afford. So I didn't want to increase the price that much. So the only other option was, and I come up from a group fitness background. Actually, I taught a lot of group fitness classes up as high as 24 people in a group. And so what happens is you get into this, the only way to win this formula or this equation is to get into that group fitness or the boot camp model of a session. So that's what I made sure I looked at. It wasn't the money part of it. I didn't want to change that. I don't want to increase the price of that. I just wanted to keep that price the same, but increase the amount of hitters that I'm working with in that time. Okay. Now I know you coaches out there, it's not so much, that's not as important to you, but for the instructors for sure. Again, that question of what's important to you. Is it certainty? Is it, if we go back to the Tony Robbins, the 6 emotional needs, is it the need for money to be coming in? Is it the emotional need of uncertainty? Are you okay with thinking on your feet? Because that's what the small group training really helps with. You have to be a lot faster, and you have to answer that question of what's important in this session with this hitter. What are the top 1 or 2 things that we need to work on with this hitter, and then I got to move on and bring my other hitter in. So there is an element of uncertainty in that. Is it connection? You want to connect with your hitters. Do you feel like you don't want to lose that connection? Is it significance? Do you feel like you need to have all these hitters, or you need to increase the price so you feel better about yourself, or that you want to look busy, or different things like that? Not judging, but that's what some like at a deep level. If you reach way down, some instructors, that's what they like. They like to look busy. They want to be busy all day long, and they like to tell their hitters, well, I don't know if I could get you in. It might take 3 weeks, but I'll see if I can fit you in. I got instructors here locally that say that. I don't say anything like that. I try and make it work. I don't try and, oh, I sound really busy, my peacock feathers type of thing. But that's okay. Some people like to do that at a lower level or a deeper level. Is it contribution? Do you want to? I like contribution. I like to not increase the price, keep the price where it's at, but affect more hitters. I want to affect as many hitters as I can. I want to change more of their career trajectories. Is it growth? Do you want to grow and get better? Because these groups will force you to grow and get better, because there's so many different elements. There's different hitters. There's different things they're working on. It forces you to grow and get better and take what works, keep it, and what doesn't work, and get rid of it. So now let's go into the structure of the 75-minute small private group session. So we start off with a dynamic warm-up, which usually lasts 10 to 15 minutes or so. Then we go into beginning ball exit speeds. We use a pocket radar gun. I sit behind them, and then I have my other hitters will feed them as we're going. We take some initial recordings. We record their swing on using the UberSense or Huddle Tech. I think they're Huddle Tech now, Coach's Eye, whatever. We record their swings, all of them, back to back to back to back. And then we analyze those swings. So each hitter gets like 2 minutes with me or so, and we sit down and we decide, okay, what's the most important thing for you to work on right now? First, most important, second most important, if there's a second thing. So that usually takes another 10 to 15 minutes or so. So 30 minutes in the beginning to warm it up, getting our initial readings, getting their swing on film and analyzing it. Then we break off into our stations. Depending on the size of the group. So group obviously is between 2 and 6 hitters. So I go up to about 4 hitters. I charge $45 per hitter, up to 4 hitters. And then once it gets into 5 and 6, which I try not to use the 5, if it's a 5, I try and break them off and do a one-on-one, just because monetarily it doesn't make sense. Plus, just the odds, the logistics, it doesn't make sense either, as you'll hear me explain with this. I like to pair my hitters up, so even numbers are always better, usually better. But 3 is good too. 3 will take, 1 hitter is in the cage with me. The other 2 are outside doing over-underload training in the station 2, which we'll talk about in a second. And they'll do a complete cycle. When each is done with the complete cycle, then 1 will come in, the one was with me will go out and do their cycle, and then the other hitter will do another cycle before they come in. So it's kind of like rotating. So 3 is okay, but 5 is a little bit tough. So we'll have 3 stations, 1 or 2 hitters will be in with me, depending on if we have 4 hitters or 6 hitters. Then the pairs, 1 pair will be in with me, or 1 hitter will be in with me. And we're working on the mechanical thing that they specifically need to work on, the thing or things. So we work on that either T, if it's brand new, they're learning something new, we'll graduate to soft toss, and we'll do some live toss. And then live toss will also work timing stuff. So we'll work the 2-plate drill, the Berry Reaction live toss drill. We'll work some zone stuff, hunting zones, and we'll work some random pitch, like some curveball, fastball, depending on where the hitter's at on our progression. But so they'll get that initial work with me, that personal kind of touch work. And then outside the cage, I mentioned over-underload training, so that's heavy bat, light bat, their bat, so they take 5 swings with each. That's 1 complete cycle, and then the other hitter comes in and they and so then they'll feed the other hitter, and the other hitter will complete their own cycle. If there's 6 or possibly 5, if my schedule isn't open enough and I can't break that 5 off and do a one-on-one with them, if it's 5 or 6, If it's 5, then I'll ask maybe the dad to throw wiffle balls to them. But that third station is wiffle ball station, live wiffle balls. So we'll put a screen in front of them and they'll toss wiffle balls. There's some different things we'll work on. We'll work on sometimes slow pitching, so we'll lob balls, basically super slow. And they got to work on trying to keep close, keep that front shoulder closed. We're talking about showing the numbers. And they have to keep it all the way closed until landing, and even if at landing they're still early, then they got to hold out, and then go. So we might be working on the slow, super slow pitching. We might work on controlling our verticals, so our launch angles. Basically, they hit a ground ball, and we're going to try and get the next one in the air. Our whole goal is to hit the line drive and to get the bat coming up, or the ball coming off the bat the same height that it's coming in. So that's controlling verticals. We could do controlling horizontals if we're working at this specific hitter is having a hard time going the other way or pulling the ball. Then we will work on zones. They're hunting certain zones to go that direction, and we work on their directional force. So those are some things that we can work on the live wiffle ball round. So it'll be 3 rounds with 5 or 6 hitters, and it'll only be stations, and it'll only be two stations with 3 to 5 or 3 to 4 hitters, or 2 to 4 hitters. So that is the stations and how the stations are set up, and that's about 40 minutes of it. And then after that, we close with ball exit speeds. Depending on the amount of hitters, we'll do 3 to 5 of those, and we'll just kind of close on that. And then I will ask them 3 important questions at the end to make sure they understand what they're doing. Number 1 is, are there any questions on what we just worked on? Question number 2 is, are there any questions on how you're going to work on this at home? Question number 3, probably the most important question is there a question about why you're working on what you're going to work on? I tell them, if without a purpose, people perish. So if you don't understand why you're doing this drill, then you're not going to work on it at home. Your brain's smarter than that. If you can't give it an important enough reason, a priority, why it's priority, you're not going to do it. So that helps them to understand, okay, Joey wants me to show my numbers because that increases my batted ball distance. Okay, I can see that benefit. That's going to make them more likely to work on it. And when we talk about working on it at home, it's at least 4 days a week seems to be the magic bullet, and at least 5 minutes each day. They can do more than that, but at least 5 minutes each day. The frequency of the lateral, the horizontal is more important than the depth of how much they're doing. So a player can't say, well, he wants me to do 4 days a week, 5 minutes each day. That's 20 minutes. So how about if I do 1 day for 20 minutes? No, it's a frequency. We want 4 days a week, 5 minutes each day. All right, quickly, pros and cons. Now, as you can see, you can help more hitters in a small amount of time. And that's my whole thing. Now, those are my constraints, is how can I help more hitters and not alienate some financially because they can't afford it now. So helping more hitters in a small amount of time, and how that kind of works in the cage. For those of you, you're all going to have different things, right? Some of you are going to be in the basement, some of you are going to be on a field, some of you are going to be in an academy, some of you all have different dimensions, right? So how those groups look in the cages, so I take the whole cage to work with the mechanical group, where we're working on the mechanics and hands-on. Then outside the cage, the other hitters jump outside the cage, push down a little bit, because we're outdoor and we have a longer cage. So they hit into the netting of that same cage. Okay, so safety is always key. Make sure if there's holes in there that hitters in the cage aren't walking in front of those holes. Safety is always, make sure that safety, right? Safe. So they're outside doing the over-under load training. The Wiffle Ball Live group is off, a little bit off of a ways, and they're doing their thing over there with the wiffle balls, and they have a screen in front of the coach. I've done it without a screen. The wiffle balls don't hurt as much. It's like getting slapped in the face with a wet rag. It doesn't feel good. So safety. Make sure that, especially if you're asking a parent to throw to their son or daughter, make sure that they got something in front of them. So they're off in the distance doing that. So that's how that looks, okay? That's how it looks, at least with what I'm doing. It might look different how you do it. Also, more money in the pocket of the instructor, the customer pays less overall. Again, that's important to me. That's important to what I do. I don't want to raise the prices if I don't have to, and I want to make it affordable, but yet I'm winning as well. I'm winning at the end of that hour and 15 minutes. And by the way, when the next group comes in, they're going to start coming in early possibly. So what I'll say is, if I go over in a group, I will tell them to use their 10 to 15 minutes to warm up. So by the time I'm done with the earlier group, that they're ready to go, we get them in the cage, we do our ball exit speeds and things like that. So we'll use that 15-minute buffer, that 10 to 15-minute dynamic warm-up buffer as, hey, all right, you guys go ahead and guys, gals, start doing your warm-ups. Other players get to mentor, the older ones get to mentor the younger ones, which is kind of cool because a lot of them have siblings anyway, have younger siblings, some of them. And so the older ones get to mentor the younger ones, and the younger ones get to be the mentee, right? They get to see what's going on, and they get to see their standard is raised. So they get to see, okay, I'm 10, I'm watching a high school sophomore or junior, seeing what he's doing or she's doing. That's cool, that's where I'm going. So it also helps with inspiration. Also, they'll learn things like teamwork and leadership and taking and receiving feedback and some other things. I'm sure you can think of other things out there that they can learn. Some of the cons, this can be hard for your hitters that are used to doing one-on-ones with you. I have those. And I tried to tell them, I said, you know what, I'm forced, I have to do it this way. I tell them why. I'm very transparent with my hitters. I'm very transparent. I say, you know, I got to be home, I got to take care of my kids, and they all understand that. And so I just tell them, see, if the schedule works out that we can do a one-on-one, then we'll do that, okay? And so I give them more priority. If I got a 5 group and I'm like, you know what, I got some room in my schedule, let's move the 5 over. I'll move one of my older hitters, or not older hitters, but the hitters that I've worked with longer that are kind of, you know, with like a one-on-one here and there, and I just kind of sprinkle those in. So I help that part of that. Also too, not as much time to chit-chat. Well, you lose one-on-one touch with the instructor, right, with these groups, and that's natural, but I think a lot of the benefits, a lot of the pros outweigh the cons in this sense, and you probably agree. And there's not as much time for chit-chat. As most of you know, some of those hitters, some of your hitters, love to chit-chat about things like Fortnite or girls or boys or whatever. I mean, there's so much stuff, cheerleading, makeup, blah, 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 right? In a one-on-one session, a little bit more okay. In a group session, things move so fast. So we have to be a little bit better at saying, hey, Johnny, hey, Sally, we can't really talk about that right now. Let's save that for the end. Let's get to what's really important right now. Okay, I'm sure you could think of other things, other cons, but I feel that the pros outweigh the cons dramatically. What we talked about in this video is we talked about the theory of constraints and what is most important, and that's a question that we should be constantly asking, how we're fine-tuning our small group private sessions. We talked about the structure of those, and we talked about the pros and cons. Now here's my ask. For those of you watching this solely on YouTube, there's a link directly below this video in the About Us section, where whatever YouTube calls it now. There's a link. Go to that link. That's the blog post. There's going to be people posting comments and things like that. Some of them are going to be giving advice, and there's going to be some asking questions, maybe questions that you have. You can also ask, obviously, below this video too in the comment section, but there's going to probably be a little bit more going on the blog. So I know this model isn't perfect. Now again, I've only been working on this for the last 6 to 8 months or so. So I would love to hear from those. Advice. Please give me advice, give everybody advice on what has worked for you. Maybe that's different than what I'm doing that works better. I would love to hear that. And maybe what didn't work, what wasn't, like, don't do this. Whatever you do, don't do these top 2 things. Maybe I'm doing one of those things. I would love that advice, okay? And everybody else would love that advice. So please, for those of you that are doing this already, small private group sessions, please give some advice on how it can help or hurt, what can help and what can hurt. Anything else, and what doesn't. So also, welcome any comments or questions, those of you that are new to this, that you have for me, and I'll do my best to answer them, and I'm sure others that have been there and done that, they will help too. With that, make sure that we're swinging smarter by moving better, and before I let you go,
the Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know repeatable hitting power does not start in the hips? Have you heard the expressions, load and explode the hips? Power comes from the hips. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that will show you how we added 48 feet of batted ball distance instantly. And it's not all about the hips. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.